everyone. How are you today? So, I am Yvette McQueen, MD, emergency physician and travel doctor, a global physician on a mission to educate about health, travel wellness, and disease prevention. So, I'm coming to you today, as some of you have been following me. I am on my vacation. But yesterday I had a little incident that I wanted to discuss, and it's about heat exhaustion. It's real. I've always believed it's real. But I fell into the trap that everyone falls into, that I can handle this. So Thursday, I was in Paris, and I started the day off with one of the mistakes I did was starting my day was I did not check the weather. I knew it was going to be hot, and the other days had been somewhere in the 90s, and I was like, I'm from Florida, I can handle it, right? So I started the day off. I got up. I had some plans, the things to do. I went to the train. I took the train, and some of the trains don't have air conditioning, so there's no air, there's no ventilation. So I took the train, and I was going to see an art immersion exhibit. I got off the train, and it was about maybe a 5-block walk. They said 0.3 miles on Google Maps. So I walked about the 5 blocks, and when I got there, of course, it wasn't open because I was in the 10 o'clock slot, and I had to stand in line for 30 minutes. And then I said, oh, I forgot my water. Mistake number 2. So I forgot my water. So I walked 5 blocks in the heat, and then had to stand in line. And then we finally was let into the building, and it was cool in there. And I felt a little better because at first I was like, oh, I don't kind of feel good. But I felt a little better sitting there, watched it for a couple hours, and then I said, okay, well, it's time to leave. I had to walk 5 blocks back to the train station. Of course, silly me was walking on the side of the street with the sun until a couple blocks I said, why is the sun shining on me? I didn't have my hat. Mistake number 3. And so I said, well, let me go over to the other side of the street where at least the shade is. Okay. So I did that. By the time I got to the train station or the metro stop, I was feeling a little fatigued. I was like picking up my legs like they couldn't walk. I was like sluggish. And I was like, I think I'm overheating. So I stopped at a little cafe that was right there for some libation water. And I said, well, let me get something to eat because I didn't eat much breakfast. So I got a salad because I wanted to keep it light. Halfway through the salad, I was queasy. My stomach was just turning. I was like, this is not a good sign. Let me drink some more water. So I drank some more water. I probably drank about a liter of water while sitting there. I sat there, and it was not air conditioned. It was sitting outside, but there was a good breeze. Went and took the metro. And of course, no ventilation. And I said, oh, I was going to go on and tour a chateau, a castle. Yeah, that didn't happen. When I got to the stop where the hotel was, I said, I think I need to get off. So that's probably the brightest thing I decided to do was follow my mind. And I got off and went back into my hotel room. And once again, feeling like, oh, I just can't move these legs. And went in my room, turned the air up, and just laid there for about an hour. And I started to feel better. So I experienced heat exhaustion because then I picked up the phone, looked at the weather, and it was 103 degrees in Paris. And it's not like it's an open breeze. It's a lot of concrete, a lot of buildings, not an airflow, like most major cities. So that heat was settled in there. I was out walking and without my water, without my hat, in 100-degree weather, which I should not do. Okay, just should not do. So I wanted to come to you about heat exhaustion, some signs you should see, you can pick up whether you heat exhausted, have heat exhaustion, heat illness, and of course there's heat stroke. I've talked about this before. So I was overheated, and people feel, oh, I'm overheated. Oh, it's not just feeling hot. It's feeling tired and fatigued. And some people like to use the word lethargic. And I did feel like my muscles were so heavy, I couldn't pick it up. I was just so sluggish. And then, of course, you're thirsty. You can always relieve that. But also, I felt queasy. I did. I felt queasy, a little nauseous. Even when I tried to eat, I was nauseous. And I got a little lightheaded. You can get lightheaded and dizzy and just kind of like, oh, I just don't feel right. That definitely is heat illness, heat exhaustion. Of course, you can profusely sweat. Didn't get it to the point where I was profusely sweat. So that's just a general heat illness, overheating. You drink some fluid, you remove yourself from the heat into a cool area. Put some cool cloths on your face. You can spritz yourself with water. And stand in front of a fan. That helps you to evaporate and your skin to cool off. So heat exhaustion, of course, is you just start profusely sweating. You have no control over it. You're soaking yourself, and you start to get nauseous and things like that. Heat stroke is when it starts to affect the brain. Think stroke and the brain, okay? So when you get a heat stroke, you get a severe headache, you actually throwing up, and you actually get very dry because at that point your mechanisms of cooling off shut down, so you no longer sweating, you get very dry. You have the headache, you get once again lethargic, and some people can go in a coma. That's considered a medical emergency. You need to get that person or yourself to the nearest emergency facility to take care of you. Of course, I'm here in Europe, and some areas are still called the emergency department. Other ones are called A&E, or accident and emergency, connected to the hospital. Same thing. They do the same thing. We all do the same thing. We all do the same thing. Take care of the emergency so that you don't die. That's what we do. So remember, the signs of heat illness and heat exhaustion is where you get overheated, you feel tired, sluggish, your muscles you can feel like you're not moving, you get a little queasy in the stomach, you get a little lightheaded, you get dizzy, of course you're thirsty, remember that, and then heat exhaustion where you're profusely sweating, so you need to basically cool yourself off, cool rags, get out the sun, drink some fluids, and of course, go to an air-conditioned area if you can, or have someone fan you, stand in front of a fan so the air is blowing across you. Go dip yourself in the water if you're at a beach, because people at the beach can have a heat exhaustion. They're laying out tanning or laying out there, and they don't realize, okay, I'm not feeling good because of all this heat. Go dip yourself in the ocean, okay? As long as you still have your mind with you, okay? Don't go in the ocean if you don't have your mind, because you'll drown, and that's a whole nother topic, okay? But in heat stroke, once again, is when when it affects the mind. So they have a headache, they're throwing up, they're not themselves, they're mumbling, they're acting like they have a stroke. Please call 911 or 119 or whatever it is, whatever country you're in, so that they can see a doctor immediately. So I experienced a little heat illness yesterday, and I recovered because I made sure I stayed in the cool area and I rested. Even when I said, let me just leave. I did not continue on my track in 104-degree weather, because it did get up to 104 by later on that day. And I said, I went and took an early train to London. So I'm now in London, and it was 95 when I got here, a little cooler. That was like actually no, it was more like 87. So it was almost a 20-degree difference because it had rained. And I felt better. I wasn't as queasy, but I did sleep on the train, which helped me kind of rejuvenate, and my muscles weren't as tired and sluggish. And I rehydrated, and I know I rehydrated because what I tell you, when you hydrate, you check your urine, okay? So if you're not hydrated well, your urine is going to be dark, yellow, golden, things like that. So when you hydrate well enough, it's going to be clear, almost clear yellow, So I rehydrated up over the night, stayed cool, and I feel much better. I was out today, but I made sure I had my hat with me, even though it was, London was a little cloudy, but the sun is always out when it's cloudy. Don't believe the sun rays don't get you. They do. And the temperature was only 79, so that wasn't so bad. I could cool off. But remember, heat illness, heat exhaustion, heat stroke is real. Please take care of yourself. Hydrate and stay cool. Okay? And that's from your emergency physician, Yvette McQueen, MD. So I hope you travel well and stay well. YvetteMcQueenMD.com. Ciao for now.